Buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. Make sure you understand the opportunity in today's market, and when you're ready, we're here to help.
These 5 buyers on average created over $15,000 in real value the moment they signed and bought their home. Now, with that in context, let's go ahead and look at the first deal. This home was on the market for 3 months. This matters because the longer that the house sits on the market, the more leverage typically shifts towards the buyer. Now, the contract price was $190,000 and the appraised value came in at a whopping $191,000. Now, the seller concessions were $9,300, which is absolutely huge. Now, if we go ahead and use our formula, that's $1,000 from the appraisal difference plus $9,300 in concessions. This created over $10,000 in added value, or to be more exact, $10,300 in value added. This deal was made possible because of the time on the market, seller motivation, and also reduced competition. The home was purchased in January, right in the middle of winter, and the seller just wanted to get their home off their books. Deal number 2 followed a similar structure. This home took 1 month to sell. The contract price was $206,000 and seller concessions were $12,000. The appraised value came at $215,000. That is over a $9,000 difference from the contract price, meaning that the buyer had $9,000 of equity immediately, excluding down from their down payment. Using the same formula that we were talking about, that's $9,000 from the appraisal gap plus $12,000 in the seller concessions. This creates over $21,000 in added value. That's a whole 10.2% from the purchase price. And deals like this, they're really rare. They are only going to happen when buyers are positioned correctly. Deal number 3. So this particular property stayed on the market for 4 months. That signaled a clear seller flexibility. The home was originally listed at $280,000, and after 2 weeks, the seller went ahead and dropped the price by $5,000. Another 2 weeks later, another $5,000. That pattern continued until the price reached all the way down to $255,000. That is when my client went ahead and submitted an offer, and the contract price was $250,000. Now, when the appraisal came back, it was at $257,000. Seller concessions were at $10,000. That is $17,000 added in value, which is a whole 6.8% of the purchase price. What the seller did is that they initially overpriced the home by approximately 10.7%, and the market corrected it, and then it continued to correct it over time. Now for deal number 4. This home sat on the market for 7 months. That dramatically decreased the buyer leverage. The final contract of this house was $170,000, and then when the appraisal came back, it came back at $170,000, so no difference. However, when we did the seller concessions totaled $10,000. The home was originally listed at $205,000, and by the time it sold, the price had dropped 17%, which is ridiculous. Then on top of that, the seller provided 5.9% in seller concessions. This is a textbook example of a buyer's market transaction. Too much time on the market strong-armed the seller, which they repeatedly lowered their expectations until the home reached its true value. Deal number 5. Now this property took over 2 years to sell. The contract price was $458,000 and the appraised value came in at $467,000. Seller concessions were at $10,000. That is a total of $19,000 in added value given to my buyer. Now, the thing here was that the home was originally listed for $540,000. And then after 2 years, the price tanked roughly by around $82,000, which is ridiculous. That's a whole 15%. Now, this deal proves that buyer leverage exists across multiple price ranges, not just entry-level homes. That is why time is king when it comes to negotiating. After looking at all these deals, the longer the home is on the market, the more desperate the seller may become. These examples show that 1, buyers were able to purchase homes below appraised values, 2, seller concessions are actually quite common, and 3, most importantly, value is created for my buyers the moment they signed. My buyers were not waiting and depending on the future market conditions. They didn't need to wait for interest rates to drop, nor did they have to wait for home values to drop. They saw opportunity, and on average, they made around $15,000 in added value. Now, these are just some of my closed deals from 2025, and it shows on how the market's behaving. And it might explain what buyers may see moving into 2026. Looking ahead, the market will most likely depend on interest rates. That means that the same patterns that we saw in 2025 could continue into 2026. Now, if interest rates fall, there will more likely be more buyers returning into the market, and when that happens, leverage will slowly begin to shift back towards the sellers. Now, I don't expect that shift to happen overnight. it could take anywhere between 1 to 4 years. All I know now is that we are in a buyer's market, and buyers often have the ability to negotiate the value and also receive meaningful added value. If we transition into a seller's market, we will be able to see the added value decrease over time. That is why understanding leverage is often more important than trying to perfectly time the market. These closed deals can give you some insight into the market and how much value you have as a buyer. That is all that I have for today's video. If you're interested in getting pre-qualified or you have any questions, my contact information is either in the description or the comments.
Most buyers don't realize you can make money the day you buy a home.